Hello and welcome to a brand new show of Market Makers. My guest on the show today is a market veteran. He believes in one simple mantra: price is what you pay, value is what you get. Growth, according to him, is the most important feature for any economy, and a high growth economy will certainly be the way forward for India. You will also see him extensively on the budget day with our ET Now panel. Raamdeo Agrawal, Joint Managing Director of Motilal Oswal Securities. Good to have you back on ET Now, Mr. Agrawal. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Yeah.
It's that time of the year where the entire attention and perhaps chatter on D Street is centered around budget. The challenge this year, I guess, is that expectations are not running high, but they are running extremely high.
Yeah, it's a new government, and probably this is there's a well thought out budget, hopefully, from them, and that will open their mind how they're thinking and how they want to proceed. Despite the fact that they have said that budget is, this event is of course big, but there's nothing that stops them from doing 365 days, coming out with the regulations and things like that. So the issue is that, where the government expenditure, direction of government expenditure is. What kind of deficit they'll have, what kind of capital expenditure they will have, what kind of projects they want to take up, well with the thrust of the budget. How much they have thought about putting the growth on track. Because in my mind, I'm not an economist, but at the end of it, we have to see whether they have opened enough channels of investment, whether it is a government investment or private investment or international investments, foreign investors' investment. I think they have to just get this the blockade onto the investing side. And on the consumer goods and services side, I think there is enough investment and people find way to invest and cater to the markets. But what happens to the infrastructure side? And that's where the huge opportunity is. Whether in Mumbai, state of Maharashtra, or the whole nation, you can go do trillions and trillions and still not stop. So it's an amazing opportunity to make it happen. Now, making it happen is all in the hands of government. Yeah. So how they will make it happen? How this ball will start moving in terms of making the roads rapidly, making the ports rapidly. So I think that's what hopefully people will keep watching on 28th.
Now, Mr. Agrawal, frankly, the finance minister has been extremely lucky. Global commodity prices have come down, the stock markets are vibrant. So how can he encash on that? Yeah,
so first thing is the pressure on him to dole out subsidies, because of rising petroleum prices to the particularly farming lot, in terms of lower diesel prices, lower fertilizer prices. Those things are, at least the diesel side is behind, which itself is about 1 lakh crore. Then you have the fertilizer prices. Hopefully the prices will be lower, and hence what you give by way of subsidy by government would be lower. So I think continuous subsidy pressure will be lower. That is one thing very clearly. So government finances will be in good shape. And hopefully, I'm not in know of it, but this year they have cleaned up all the bills pertaining to this year as well as earlier backlogs which Mr. Chidambaram or any other government would have left. So it is expected that starting from 1st April 2015, they will have the new checkbook and new allocations. And I think it is not about quantum of expenditure, but the quality of expenditure. So if you spend 100 rupees and you get worth of it only 25, if that can be increased to from 25 to 50, by honestly not delaying or helping the actually businessman executing the projects very quickly, I think that will make a huge difference.
The most important number, at least for Indian budget historically, has been the fiscal deficit number.
Yeah.
If I look at the earlier number which was communicated by the previous administration, the number is 3.6. If the fiscal deficit number for FY6 is nowhere close to 3.6, will that disappoint the market, or markets will ignore it?
I wouldn't read so much into, of course that's an important number, but I think what they want to do with the money. See, the government's tax revenues are, what is their resource mobilization effort? Because only from the tax revenues, there's not much scope. So what are the other extra, outside the budget? What are the avenues they're opening for the savings, domestic savings and international savings to flow into the infrastructure? And that doesn't flow just like that, because they're very hard-nosed investors, private, domestic private or global private. So government has to actually handhold and help them. Why don't they have 5,000, IS officer type empowered officers to take care of each and every project? Instead of the project guys going around in the town and figuring out my file is from here to there and 1,000 permissions, why can't there be an empowered officer from day one? He receives the file and processes it and gives it back to him. So something like that, I mean, how committed is government to making sure that the private money, whether it is international or local, flows into the projects in big way. I mean, in a really meaningful way. I mean, 100, 200, 300 billion dollars starts flowing in. So I think the government's business is to help the business, rather than obstruct. Ease of doing business. But fundamentally, government's job is to help the business rather than obstruct the businesses. I think so far, at least we have not seen. I mean, we have seen some relief, but in last 8-10 years, it had become so bad that businessmen would not expect any help, even however genuine it might be, from government. But government has all the power on the land, so they can actually turn around and say that we will be the biggest helper for you to do the business. So I think that's the opportunity.
Right, Mr. Agrawal, the sentiment surely has turned around. The feel-good factor seems to be coming back. But if I look at the real economy, whether it is steel demand, cement demand, credit offtake, on-ground activity has not picked up. Why is that?
Yeah, because it takes time. I mean, the slowing down economy, and you want to turn around. So you start giving permissions, and all the things were blocked. So you're slowly opening up small things, and government expenditure itself is not great till 31st March. It can't be great because the money is not there with the government, with that tight fiscal regime they want to have, 4.1% or whatever. That doesn't allow them too much of leeway. As we've seen, most of the deficit numbers are already through. So I think they're really concerned about writing checks for the projects, which will start happening hopefully from 1st April. So that is one. Second is that all said and done, public-private partnership and private investment into the infrastructure project, that has come to completely standstill. Projects are still stuck. They're not in great shape at all. So now, hopefully, they'll clear up all the disputes, land disputes, whatever it takes to make that project happen. I mean, those things are actually on the ground. You have to go and figure it out. And second is that on housing and all, which is private sector kind of capital expenditure, the demand is massive. And everybody wants to put it up their own way. So how they will use that potent force of creating massive housing all over the country? I mean, one, of course, as a humanitarian ground that by 2022 you want to have pakka houses for everybody. But how do you use it as a force, as a prime mover for the economy?
So what can be done which will create a multiplier effect? Because ultimately it's all about creating that multiplier effect with that 50-60,000 crore savings you've got because of oil.
Yeah, so that's what we have to see, what they will do. I mean, they have a lot of options. I mean, can they get into projects themselves? Can they sell the existing assets and mobilize more money to, put up for the newest? I mean, if you hear Mr. Gadkari, I mean, it looks that he's working overnight to figure out, to bolster a lot of resources for this $1 trillion 5-year plan for the infrastructure. So there can be a lot of innovative ways of mobilizing money. So long as government is committed to helping the businessman rather than making his life tough. I mean, whether
but the lead has to be taken from the government because the private sector does not have the balance sheet or the muscle.
No, private sector is helpless. See, if income tax notice comes, for which one has not bought, I mean, one has never dreamt of it. I mean, you and me can do nothing. So it has to be the government who has to say that if you have come as you have brought 1,000 crores or $5 billion, $10 billion of this country, you are safe and you make some money. Otherwise, who is going to come next? We want not only $1 trillion, we want $5, $10, $20 trillion. So we have to prepare for much bigger numbers. And the work starts now. And now what is happening is like in online entrepreneurship, people are getting registered outside also. So the domestic talents are going outside and registering themselves in more convenient places. So the taxes and a lot of things will not come to India. So it is high time that Government of India acts to save the country itself. Like the way FIs have bought the equities, I mean, 50-60% of all the blue chip companies are owned by foreigners. So we have to make investing by domestics far more conducive, so that we can save our companies to be owned by Indians.
The Big problem for Indian economy, apart from the infrastructure sector, is the entire banking sector. The PSU banking sector is in an absolute disarray. That's an important wheel, and that important wheel, unfortunately, is stuck.
Yeah. So I could see from my limited understanding, there are three big problems for government. One was the oil sector subsidy and all. So that had shot itself down in the sense that oil has collapsed from 110 to 50. So that has.
So God has taken care of it.
God has taken care of it, and I think government has also moved and deregulated things, and whatever is the backlog left, I hope they will not come on the way and again go back to the old times. One is that. Second is the PSU banks. And third is power sector. So power sector, I think in right earnest, they started this coal block and all, and I believe with the lower cost of electricity, the losses which are there today of 60, 70, 80,000 crores per annum, that probably will be to some extent taken care of. But I think that still remains a problem, the T&D losses, which is there. I mean, what exactly to do with that black hole, which is there in the system? I think they have to come on top of it for a sustained, build up in the power sector, because power sector can also be a source of huge sustained growth, and it brings instant productivity gain. I mean, in a village, if you energize that village, suddenly the life becomes more than, from 10 hours it becomes a 20 hours life. So clearly, the benefit of that is very big. But I think the PSU bank, that challenge remains a serious one, in the sense that there's like a lot of ideological issue that whether government wants to go below 51% or not. And it's not about privatization that you give it to an industrialist or something like that. But at the end of it, I think the solution has to be found to make it very, very viable and vibrant.
But there is no easy solution.
I mean, because problems are so big that the solution cannot be that easy. But it also doesn't mean that there is no solution. The issue is that whether politically it is doable in the current environment, where a lot of populist things are on. You have elections almost every half year. You have some elections going on. So I mean, for government to negotiate, and then they don't have the majority in the Rajya Sabha. So anything big you want to do, again it has to push to Rajya Sabha, and if you can't push it, then you don't start the process. So those are the constraints the nation has. But yet 70% of your banking is in PSU banking, and somehow that segment is not in great shape. So how they will reform that, in the sense that how they will, I mean, they're saying that they will not interfere, but recapitalization, then really competing with the private sector, because it is no more only opening the doors for the banks. I mean, you have to actually go and compete on the ground, otherwise you will not make money. So how do you bring this particular segment in full life? So, and then you have the mother of all is the interest rate.
Yes.
Which is still, I mean, we have probably few countries which are at such high levels of
interest rate. That is outside
rate.
the scope of budget. Interest.
Yeah, it's not. But I think the governor's decision for the direction of the interest rate, a lot will depend on what happens on the fiscal numbers and whatever he reads into the intentions of the government.
I guess the quality of spending is the most important factor which the FM needs to highlight.
Yeah. So one is what he proposes. Second, what is going to the impact in the real economy, because external world is so much deflated still that exports are not there. Everybody is trying to push imports into this country, so it has its own challenge. The commodity prices slump. So a lot of industries here, though they are not facing demand slump, but they are facing the margin slump, because say China dumps steel at some discounted price. So here demand is there, but if the price is not right, then what do you do? So I think a lot of challenges are coming, which was not known, say 6 months back. So it's not going to be an easy way to bring the growth out. So only after the budget so you need, since you don't have external help, you need a double domestic effort to push the growth, and whether that extra effort is visible from the government side in pushing that growth is to be seen.
Let's talk about fuel subsidy. A lot of problems have been taken care of because global oil prices have come down, but two issues have not been sorted. Number one is LPG and second is kerosene. In this budget, are markets secretly hoping and betting that there would be a clear plan on LPG or kerosene subsidy? How exactly is the government planning to attack that?
Yeah, I think this LPG, they want to do a cash transfer, and I believe it is...
The process has started.
The process started. I keep hearing about this transfer, those guys for giving you cylinder, they ask you whether that account is there or not. We said we are not entitled and we don't intend to take it. And it's still, there is a... Yeah. So I think at least on LPG side, things are definitely moved. Now, whether it is nationwide and across the country or not, that we have to really figure out. But LPG is clearly under control. Once you give subsidy to the people who need it, whom you want to give, and to them only subsidy goes, you'll definitely have control over it. Kerosene is still a very open subject. But I think if you are able to take care of petrol, diesel and LPG, I think that's a huge improvement.
Okay, GST. There is a roadmap which is in place. Do you think somewhere more clarity is sorted in this budget?
Of course, this is one of the most revolutionary thought process for indirect taxes reforms. But there's a lot of hesitation. The rates which are being talked about is draconian. When you talk about 25-26% kind of rate, small business will just collapse. So they have to be far more sensible in thinking about what could be the rate and how exactly it will be rolled out. So I think we need a lot of clarity on that.
Markets, they always need constant triggers to keep on going up. As of now, hopes have become forecast. My question to you is that are markets expecting moon from this budget? Is somewhere are expectations somewhere unrealistic?
What can market expect? Apart from fiscal discipline, most of the things are in the hands of the companies themselves.
So as long as the fiscal deficit number is taken care of, this will be a good
infrastructure
budget.
Spend.
Okay. These are two basic issues.
These are two basic issues. How much resource mobilization is there and how real is the resource mobilization? If I say that I will collect, say, 100,000 crores by way of some bond, but if that potential is not there, market is not going to believe. So what is the real effort in mobilization? Is it going to be 2% or 3% of GDP? And how fast they will roll it out?
What about the disinvestment number? Every time when the disinvestment
that has been
number
very disappointing.
Shared, yes.
In last 8-9 months, that has been a very disappointing, particularly when they are resource crunched. And it was told by everybody to them that please roll it out, from day one, one by one, in a staggered manner. Don't bunch it up. And here is February, and we are stuck with the whole thing. There is no difference between the way it was done earlier and now. So I think somewhere even this government is finding, putting all the eggs together. Maybe there is too much of centralization, or decision-making powers are not too many, or they don't have clear understanding of what to do with PSU divestment, how aggressive they want to go. Because at 80%, 90% kind of holding, they can just, while they can get good they can mobilize 50, 60,000 crores, 80,000 crores without much problem.
But the bullish argument is that they've been careful here. They are not just dumping shares at ridiculous price, and LIC is not being forced to bail them out. So the good bit here is that since oil prices are down and some spectrum money would also kick in this year, the need for disinvestment has got diluted considerably.
See, you had a plan. The government has to plan its play and play the plan.
Okay.
I don't think they have options to change the plan middle way. They have to just if they have said we want to mobilize this much, because what happens is if your revenue gets deferred, your expenditure also gets deferred. And in an environment when growth is slowing down, you need every bit of expenditure as early as possible. In fact, instead of tomorrow, it should be today or day before that, you should be putting out
the disinvestment number for FY16 is higher than FY15. That will not be disturbing. That will not worry the market. A lot of government paper will hit the primary market.
See, the appetite in the market for papers at reasonable price is very, very high. Okay. Whether PSU is being liked or not, that is a different. At some price, even they have takers.
Whole India got a massive response.
Yeah, so they have takers for them. So they should also know what can be sold and why not sell that only. What is more important is that you get your the revenue mobilization, whatever revenues you want, that you mobilize one way or other, and see to it that expenditure goes off. You are able to spend, and money is not spent on bad things.
What about basic taxation structure, STT, long-term, tax on dividend? Any tinkering is required?
Of course, a lot of things are required, a lot of suggestions are there, but I think those are side issues in the sense that they don't make or break anything. In the sense that we have been always wanting to have dividend distribution tax to be abolished or slashed significantly, or so those are things which are on the side for the market sensitivity.
That's just a footnote. Yeah. That is not the main story.
What I'm interested in seeing is that how the corporate profits are shaping up, and whether the corporate profits are going to be robust and whether they are going to grow across the board. Because right now it is very confined to private sector bank, pharma, IT. Those safe segments. There are 2-3 safe havens there. But where is the cement growth? Where is the steel growth? Where is the construction companies growth? Where is the tourism growth? Hotels and all. So where is the transport companies growth? Those things are not there. So widespread economic growth is still not happening. It's very confined to a few stocks.
So then why are markets holding on?
Just with the hope, with the hope that interest rate will collapse. This government will, this government has the promise of they're saying that we want to go to 9% or double digit.
That's aspirational.
It is definitely aspirational, but people buy into those thought processes.
Are you buying into it?
I am much more, happy-go-lucky types. I keep finding my spots of growth and keep investing there. And I know somewhere along the line, the broad-based growth will also happen. So in last 35 years, I have seen many, those rapids of Indian economy. 3-4 years it will be very rapid growth, then it will slump, then 2-3 years slow down, and then again it will be a rapid. So my sense is that we are at the cusp of the next rapid. Now whether it is 6 months away or 1 year, I don't know. And what will it bolster, that also I don't know. But I am quite sure cyclically we are in for a higher growth rates in next 4-5 years. So you have to be there in the markets in slow growth, high growth, no growth or negative growth. You have to be there in the market. You find your stocks and just be there, because businessmen will find ways of making money. And I want to buy the businessman who makes money.
So the way you invest, things will not change in the short term irrespective of the budget tone or the budget document? I
will invest either way. Budget is very good, then also I am 100% invested. Budget is very bad, then also I am 100% invested. So the investing part is different. In fact, if budget is bad and market is bad, then we might find it much easier to invest into some of the stocks which we want to invest. But budget should be good, it should be growth oriented, and growth gets a kicker so that everybody has a good time.
But ultimately, it's all about earnings.
Yeah.
You want to bet on companies and businesses and entrepreneurs which can grow higher than the industry average, which have a good business model.
Yeah.
So if the economy is not growing, can individual companies grow?
Yes.
They can.
Yeah, economy. So if the economy is growing at 5%, so say 100 companies will grow very well. If economy is growing at 3%, then maybe 50 companies will grow. But there will be growth spots in every economy. Say housing is growing irrespective of whatever the situation in the economy. Or, some of the consumer products are growing, some of the pharma exports are growing, some IT companies are doing wonderfully well. So there are some local factors, there are some global factors, there are some industry situations where value is migrating from motorcycle to scooters, so something else is growing. So you find growth situations in the economy. But when the economy is growing at 7%, 9%, then you find many more situations.
Yes.
So right now, challenges to find...
Then it's easy to participate.
Yeah, it is much easier to participate, and it is much more broad-based. Everybody doesn't pile onto the same 30, 40 stocks. Yes. One of the problem today is that there are very few stocks which are good quality and growing. Now what happens is the entire market is converging onto those stocks.
There's a buying panic there.
Yeah, you can say that, yeah.
Okay, so if I have to summarize today's interaction, broadly your take is that budget is important, but this year's budget is not make or break. It would be crucial to understand from the finance minister on how he wants to repair the economy. But even if budget is disappointing or slightly below your market expectations, that will not change the way you invest.
No, my investing style is not going to change irrespective of whatever is the budgetary proposal. I am looking for the companies which are making money, which will make money, and which is available at a reasonable price, period.
But a good budget is always great for us.
Of course.
Let's appreciate your time. Glad you could join us.
Thank you.
That's it on this edition of Market Makers. I'm Nikunj Dalmia signing off. Thank you for watching the show.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.